All right, welcome back to 11:30 The Tiger Podcast, and this is I guess you could say a not very sad day for us, but kind of joy and a little bit of sorrow for some people as Les Miles has been fired from Louisiana State University. But he is gone. He is finally out of here, as a lot of LSU fans wanted, especially after the Wisconsin game. Before I introduce who's with me, I was very confused whenever I got the phone call saying that Miles was fired, because I felt like a lot of the fans were fighting for Miles to stay last year during that Texas A&M game. And when I see people are like, finally he's gone. What happened between there and then? I know it's been like, the Wisconsin game was disappointing, and this Auburn game was very disappointing. But we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about the upcoming game against Missouri in Death Valley, which is the homecoming game, and 11:30 Tiger will be there live reporting on that game, getting interviews from hopefully Ed Orgeron and the players after the game. So let me go and introduce who's with me. We have usual AD,
What's going on?
a.k.a. Adrian, and we have a special guest today, a guy I talk to all the time, and every time I talk to him, he always has this great insight for the Tigers, and one of the few Tiger fans I talk to who know what he's talking about, and it's John Boy.
Tiger bait.
Tiger bait. All right, and he called me whenever Miles got fired, and he said, "Okay, let me go on your podcast and let me talk." So that's what we're going to open up with right now. We're going to go ahead and I want to get your thoughts. We'll start with Adrian about the firing of Les Miles, and you can interrupt whenever you want, John Boy. Just y'all go ahead, fire away.
Well, you know me. I was never one of the big Miles detractors, just because I didn't feel there was a suitable replacement out there that was willing to leave their school to come to LSU. I didn't feel we could get anyone better than Les Miles. Now, I understand where LSU fans are coming from. I mean, me myself being an LSU fan, I understand where they're coming from with the reasons he was fired, with the offensive struggles and his lack of clock management skills. But I guess I need to see how Orgeron, or how do you pronounce his name? Orgeron, how he does before I can really get an opinion on the future. But I was not a huge fan of the firing, but I understand why it happened.
All right.
Well, going off top, I'm just going to have to call this a holiday for Louisiana, because I've been on this man gone for like 3 years. If you've watched his play, when you have players from LSU who are in the NFL who tell people that their offense is stale and very predictable, when you can sit at your house and almost call every single play during a game, when it looks like a high school defense can get out there and call against your offense, I mean, it just got to the point where his head was too big. He believed he was the biggest thing walking in Baton Rouge. He was not going to try to change with the times, which is what you have to do. And basically ended up costing his job. And it should have cost him his job a couple of years ago. It actually should have cost him his job when he kind of betrayed old Jared Lee and let us get totally stomped by Alabama and couldn't even get past the 50-yard line at that national championship.
Yeah. And going back to what Adrian was saying, clock management, that's exactly what I was thinking whenever I was driving home from work, listening to the end of that football game. And I know a lot of people are talking about, well, we basically almost won that game if we would have got the snap off in time. But then I sit there and think, well, first off, the clock management on that drive was awful. How do you give up your timeouts so early on in the fourth quarter when it's that close of a football game, and then have no timeouts left for your final drive whenever your offense is kind of rolling now? And and number two, this is an Auburn team who, they kept up a Clemson, but what else have they really done? Nothing really. And so if you're going to sit there and say, well, we almost won that football game, there shouldn't have been a point, especially with how good LSU is supposed to be this year. There should not have been a point that Auburn had a chance to win that football game, or you should not have been able to almost win that football game.
There should have been a point where we almost won a football game in any game this year. How do you have 8 years of 4- and 5-star recruits, and you can't go out and get that trophy? I mean, you're coming up with some of the best players in the nation, and it's proven by the 44 or 45 players that he's put in the NFL that are still starters to this day. How do you have that kind of talent at your school and you can't push through? I mean, Nick Saban seems to be able to go get a guy off the corner just sitting there and win the national championship with him, no problem.
One thing I really think that did Miles in, which has nothing to do with him at all, actually, was the preseason hype that LSU got. Coming in preseason number 5, I personally, being one of the reasonable LSU fans out there, I feel that was way too high for us, just knowing that our biggest weakness is one of the most important positions on the football field.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the pressure was too much because he already know his seat was hot to begin the season. And then coming in number 5, that was too much pressure.
All right. We did a poll on Twitter, I believe, at 11:30 the Tiger, and the question was, do you think that the Miles firing was fair at this point? And 67% said yes. But what I was there was 3 options: yes, no, then let him finish the season. And I think 36% said let him finish the season. And I feel like that would have been a lot better option, because let's just say, what if something did happen? Okay, y'all know I'm an Oklahoma fan. And this did happen last year where we lost to Texas and all hope was lost. And somehow, once we entered full conference play, like Texas is usually one of our first conference plays, and they just start putting up 50 points a game. I don't. LSU could do that, but I don't think they would in the SEC. But what if that would have happened and Miles would have saved his job? Would have been like last year, where at the end of the season they want to fire him, but the fans would not want that to happen, nor the players.
See, I think that was like the biggest joke. I mean, you take them key losses. Granted, the Alabama loss was demoralizing, but you take all the rest of them losses after that game, and then you go beat a Texas A&M team who had no quarterback at the time. They were down to like their 4th-string quarterback, and they start hooping and hollering, give him his job, give him his job. Well, you beat a team that was stagnant at best.
Yeah.
And then you go beat Texas Tech.
Who has
Texas
no
Tech
defense.
was allowing 42 points on them per game. These are not things to talk about as an accomplishment. I mean, they're all talking about his record, Well, let's look at it like this. Let's take 53 of them wins out of his little win stat and look at Division II teams that we beat out of non-conference play, and it really doesn't matter because most of them teams are playing us just so they can pay for their athletic department, for the rest of the year. It's not like we were going out every year playing out of conference with Oregon, and then we played Wisconsin, and then we played USC, and then we went up and played Stanford, and then we came back down and went and played Florida State, and then we went and played Clemson. I mean, we're playing North Texas, and granted, these teams, they got good talent on them sometimes, but they're not comparable. So, I mean, I think his record's a little overhyped. I mean, 52, 53 non-conference wins before we lost?
About, yeah.
So you could pretty much take them, not counting when we beat Oregon in the beginning of the season, and we beat Wisconsin in the beginning of the season, and we beat TCU when they were a big hype.
True.
I mean, but most of the games were gimme games. And then the thing is, going down to Baton Rouge and watching these games, I actually watched them struggle with some of these non-conference
I know
teams.
you went to the Towson game.
Yeah, the
right?
Towson game. We almost lost that game.
I remember
in
that.
Tiger Stadium.
In Tiger Stadium, in the pouring rain.
Okay, so before I ask what I think everyone's asking right now, how do you think LSU is going to do against the Missouri Tigers this week? Before we get into the preview of it,
the way this season's gone, there's honestly no telling. I mean, I can't really offer too much of an opinion because I don't know how Orgeron, Abercrombie Fitch, I don't know how he coaches. So I don't really know what he can bring to the table. I know you can say you're going to spread the ball because at the beginning of the season, Les Miles said, Brandon Harris has greatly improved. We're going to be a completely different team, but we're still going to stick to what we know how to do. So I can't really say how the rest of this or how this next game is going to go. I know it is a home game for us. It might be a little somber in the stadium because Les isn't there leading the team out. I definitely feel the fans will definitely come out for this game because I know I mentioned a couple weeks ago on the podcast, it seems like Death Valley hasn't really been at its full potential the past couple home games we've had.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is our first time playing Missouri since they've been in the SEC, I believe. Yeah. And I want to say we'll win, but it seems like every time I feel it's a game where we are going to win, something goes wrong and we lose.
I think this is going to be a blowout. I think we're going in. I think the team has sat back and said, you know what, you're becoming the laughing stock of the SEC. And I think there's going to be a blowout. I think Orgeron is going to throw the book at him. Every play he can think of. I mean, you got to look at it, too. He got a bad rap when he was the head coach at Ole Miss, but when he went into Ole Miss, he had a roster that was basically garbage. And with the talent that he brought in, after they fired him, they started being a winning team. So if they would have kept him around for another year or two, Ole Miss would have been a strong program there with him in it. When USC had their big teams, Orgeron had a lot of hands in all the recruiting. Orgeron's had his hands in recruiting on a lot of national championship teams. He knows what he's doing. And the great thing that I think that I've seen from him so far, because who knows, he might get out there and start telling people to punt on first down, as far as I know. But he sat there at that conference and he said, look, my job that I've always done is defense. So I will help out with defense. I'll be the head coach. I got an offensive guy that's going to handle this guy. I got quarterback guys that's going to handle this guy. I got wide receiver coaches going to handle these guys. He's not trying to be Les Miles, who says, I'm running the whole show. Defense and offensive-wise, we're going to run up the middle, and then we're going to run out of the nickel defense all day long. You know, he actually has an idea that he needs the help, and he's used to the pro style of playing, and he's open-minded, where the majority of the SEC teams that you see are on the downfall will not get out of that 1980s run style of ball.
And that's exactly what Orgeron says he's going to do. He says he's going to start slinging the ball around more. And as you said to me earlier, that he's going to start running a more pro-style offense, which is more short passes, no long bombs downfield unless needed, but then also being able to use Fournette to his full potential. And so before we get to what I think, go ahead, Adrian.
I was going to also mention, you were talking about you were saying something about the coaching staff. I know we also fired Cam Cameron, and that, I think that was
Orgeron
released today. Yeah, that was released today that was Orgeron's doing. And I like the move of making Steve Esminger, I believe that's his name. They moved the tight end coach to offensive coordinator, who used to be the offensive coordinator at A&M, who is known for their offense. So I feel that's a really good move by Orgeron already as head coach.
Because you get the mindset of the younger guys, the Lane Kiffins. Granted, now Lane Kiffin's reputation ain't that great in the SEC with what happened at Tennessee. But you look at the guys like Lane Kiffin and them who see that you have to change the play. When you watch the Oregons and the TCUs and them all go to these big spread offenses, and you have to change because you can't run the ball all the time because it ain't hard to stack 9 in the box and stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to accept change, and that's what I feel was the ultimate downfall of Les Miles. You know, he was the old-style dinosaur coach, and he wasn't going to change, and it got proven time and time again. And when we lost that game to Wisconsin, I saw it. When we won the other 2 games, I still saw it. I mean, you're still running out of the two-man set 80% of the time. And then when we went into Auburn, and now granted, I know Auburn's got a decent defense this year, and that was a total defensive game. Mm-hmm. But we couldn't make nothing happen. And he ran the ball. And then when you would get a pass, it's 40 yards down the field. And why didn't he catch it? Well, he's got 3 safeties on him. Even though there's only 2 playing, they threw an extra one just for him, and he's still throwing to him.
Because I will say Malachi Dupree is probably one of the hardest people to guard in the country just because of his size and his athletic ability. But whenever they throw the ball to him, he's dropped a lot of open passes, but most of the time he is double covered a lot of the time because, especially last year, he was kind of their only receiver.
After Durrell got hurt, yeah.
Yeah. And so what I've noticed with Ed Orgeron, especially when he was at USC and he got the same job title, the interim coach at USC, he went 6-2 and just seemed like he flipped that team around.
Didn't he beat
just
Stanford
like
that year?
Yeah,
they beat Stanford. And everyone, even the players, wanted him as the head coach. Then they go and were debating. The USC was debating between Steve Sarkisian or Ed Orgeron. And they hired Sarkisian. Then he ended up resigning, a year and a half later?
Yeah, you see how that turned out.
Yeah, we see how that turned out. But I feel like, especially what Orgeron's come out and said, like right after, I feel like he's going to start trying really hard not to let that happen again. Because with him taking control and go ahead and saying, okay, we're changing things up. He even changed the practice style up. And reports are saying that the players are loving it, by the way, that there is a sense of change, like what you're saying. People like change, especially the players. So I'm with John Boy on this one where it's going to be a blowout, I think, because, yes, as you heard in these interviews, no one really got emotional. about the whole firing thing. It's a lot of them were just like, yeah, he helped me get here. I'm very blessed for him to do that. But then it's also like they kind of knew the problem too, which is why I think they went and pulled the plug on this Miles thing anyway. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get on to the game this weekend. This is going to be the first game without Miles on the sideline in 12 years in Death Valley. And I'm excited to go just to see the atmosphere without Miles there. I think it's going to be rocking just because it's a new start, I guess you could say.
That's a new era.
Yeah, because I think what's been killing it down there with AD talking about that the Death Valley just doesn't seem charged up. I mean, you get there and everybody's charged up and you got your tailgating going on. You get in there and then what's the first thing that happens?
A run up the middle.
Fournette up the middle.
Yeah.
Fournette up the middle with 12 guys sitting in the backfield waiting on them.
All right, so one more thing before we get to the talking about the game. Who do you think / want to be the head coach of LSU? If it's not Orgeron.
Start with him first.
Go, John Boy.
I can tell you like this: if they bring Browse in, I may be done with them for the year. I don't want that guy there, especially what's going on. I can't stand. I wasn't big on the Penn State thing because I don't care if you. No, I know, but the Penn State thing too. I don't care who you are or how good you are. If you're the head coach and you know about some kind of a sexual assault or anything like that, and you don't say nothing, you're pretty much guilty of it too. So I don't want Browse anywhere near the school. I don't want him anywhere near our team because I don't want that kind of influence there. If Sarkisian wouldn't have had the substance problems, then I could see Sarkisian there. I would if Orgeron sticks with what he says.
How funny would it be if Sarkisian takes Orgeron's job again?
Yeah, that would be horrible. I think this is the ultimate job for Orgeron. I don't think you could do no better than him than just giving him a winning Powerball ticket. Because this is the job that he's wanted. He's a Louisiana boy. He's grown up in the Louisiana football.
He played at LSU for like a season.
So this is the job. And if he really does change everything like he should, then I'm all for him being there. If not him, and I know a lot of people don't like that, I think I'd rather see Lane Kiffin come in. Because,
I know you're a big Lane Kiffin fan.
Well,
for to be head coach.
Yeah, because of his offensive style. They talk about Dobbs over at Tennessee. Well, that was Lane Kiffin's recruit. He brought him in there. If he can recruit good quarterbacks, that's the one thing LSU's always been missing. Eventually one day we're going to get another good one like Matt Flynn or something.
And then even the quarterbacks that we did that were good for us, as Etling he's been okay, and then Mettenberger was our last really good one.
Yeah.
They were transfers. They weren't recruits by Miles.
Mm-hmm. And Etling has been doing good. The only thing that seems to be getting to me, and I don't know if it's Etling, but and maybe it's just me, but does it seem like our offensive line has been whipped all year?
No, coming into the preseason, that was one of our big issues were injuries at the offensive line position.
I mean, even though they've had a few injuries, it seems like they've just been getting pushed around. Like maybe they're 100 pounds underweight or something. Mm-hmm. I mean, the offensive line has not been impressive to me at all. Our defense is looking stout. I don't have a problem with our defense.
Our scoring defense is okay. I've noticed this. We give up a lot of yards, but when we get in the red zone, we've tightened down. That's one thing I do like seeing. But it seems like the team is always getting in field goal position.
And I don't like saying woulda, shouldas, but we should have won that game at Auburn. When the defense plays like that, you should have been able to go in there and score one more time. We should have won at Wisconsin. When the defense hands you 3 turnovers, you should win that game.
I agree with that, yes.
All right, now moving on to the homecoming game for the Tigers this week against the Missouri Tigers, who I still feel really weird saying that they're in the SEC because I don't feel like they ever are. I don't know why. It just feels weird for me to say Missouri Tigers in the SEC still.
Especially being a Big 12 guy.
Yeah.
Oklahoma
and
stuff.
Never liked them, and when they left, I was just like, whatever. I was more upset about A&M leaving because we lost a rivalry. Mm-hmm. But I
was kind of upset that A&M came in too because we seemed to have lost our Arkansas rivalry. All of a sudden, we got to play A&M at the end of each year.
A&M's always our last game of the year.
Mm-hmm. But that's because they moved into the West,
which is not even a rivalry. A&M hasn't beat us.
No,
of course, this year it looks like
that's the one good thing I can say. They haven't beat us yet. Now we ain't beat Saban in 5 years, but
why do we got to talk about that?
All right, so Missouri comes into this game 2-2, and so is LSU after coming off the heartbreaking loss, you could say, to Auburn.
You could say it.
And Missouri's coming in off a 79-0 win against Delaware State.
Ooh,
but again, that's Delaware State, and Missouri is a team that's really in the modern offense. They like to sling the ball around. They spread it out, and they don't run it very much. They're more on the air raid now with the quarterback, Locke, who's 96 for 162 attempts with 1,500 yards already, 14 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions through all those attempts. So he's having a pretty decent year. And they have a receiver, Jermon Moore, who's absolutely killing it this year. I don't know if he's their only receiver this year, but he's got 434 yards and 6 total touchdowns already on the year. But
all of them against Delaware State.
But again, they Missouri going through their season, they lost to West Virginia 26-11. And I'm sorry, West Virginia in the first game of the season 26-11, and then dominated Eastern Michigan 61-21, and then barely lost to Georgia by 1 point, 28-27. And now they just blew out Delaware State 79-0. So
where were those games at? Just
it
curious.
was at West Virginia, and the rest were at home.
Okay.
So they've had 3 home losses.
No. They've lost one, and they've won the 2 others.
Okay.
But that was Eastern Michigan.
One
Delaware
was
I know
State.
LSU is undefeated at home, so that's why I was asking.
But Georgia had to score a game-winning touchdown, time expiring, to beat Missouri. So
yeah.
And I'm really not impressed with Georgia too much this year.
no, neither am I.
It seems like
especially
Chubb
with
has
Nick
gone
Chubb.
away.
Yeah, Chubb's. I think that knee injury's been bothering him a lot still.
I don't
But-
even see him really maybe not making the draft this year.
We'll see. Todd Gurley had the same thing when he came back from his leg injury, but then he hurt his leg again, and now he's killing it in the NFL. So we'll see. You never know. Georgia always gets the top running back recruits, it seems like. But Missouri definitely is, their wins have been huge, but against no names. Then you have the Tigers, who I know you all know, but let's go over it anyway. The 16-14 loss to Wisconsin week 1, and then the 34-13 win over Jacksonville State, and the 3-point win over Mississippi State, and last week's loss to Auburn 18-13. So I will say LSU's had a more of a difficult schedule, which is why I think that they're going to win, because it's more of a challenge and you have more experience, and especially with that quarterback controversy that they had a couple of weeks ago. But now Etling feels like he's settling in. He's playing. He's not playing great, but he's playing smart and better than Harris would. When I see Etling play, it kind of reminds me of Dak in Dallas right now, about how he's being careful,
Right.
about checking down a lot. He doesn't take wild, crazy throws unless it's necessary on like a free play or whatever.
And I like how Etling he has his mind made up. When he needs to run, he gets out of there. He doesn't think about it and dance around.
And the boys got some wheels on them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he sure does. And with but what looking at the stats, what I'm very concerned about is, Fournette, he's not having a typical Fournette year. He's got 386 yards and 2 touchdowns this year on 67 carries.
He also missed a game.
Yeah, but he missed a game. But then when you look at the receiving stats, it's the leading receivers, Travin Durrell, with 14 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown. And then Dupree, 11 receptions, 99 yards. And they only have 4 total passing touchdowns all year. 3 from Etling and 1 from Harris. And so,
See, I think they're acting like if you're in a bad relationship with somebody and it's just bad all the time, it just brings you down. It seems like that's what the team's been like. They've been in a bad relationship with Les Miles. He didn't trust Harris, so he's held them back and said, we're going to run Fournette. They need to go into Death Valley this weekend. They need to shake it off. They need to let it go. They need to forget about Miles. They need to jump on this new train, and they need to get with the old school SEC aggression. We need to see an aggressive offense. We need to see a defense that's going to get flagged a few times because they're out there knocking people for flips. I mean, we need that release. This is why I think we're going to go ahead and that's why we'll go ahead and dominate this game, because we need that release. They need to let the reins off the horse and let them run and let them do their thing. Just turn them loose, tell them have fun, go out there and act a fool.
I said the same thing for the Auburn game. I think that we needed to go out there and throw the ball. Like, I know everyone expects us to run, and we should run the ball. We have Leonard Fournette, a once-in-a-generation talent, but we got to sling the ball. Like, we have to throw it downfield if we want to get anywhere.
and that's exactly what Orgeron says they're going to start doing. So maybe they start this week against the Tigers and just, Dupree goes off and maybe actually spreads the ball around to where Fournette will have a big game.
I like this DJ Shark dude, the guy who caught the not so game winning touchdown. I don't really know what to call it.
Yeah, it was his first career touchdown.
And
I got huge beef with that last second. Huge beef.
but he seems like he could be a weapon in the future because I've noticed they've ran him a couple times, and I just like his potential in our offense.
All right, so before we head out of here, let's go ahead and get your predictions. And I know Adrian hates doing this, but I want your score, Adrian.
You want a score?
Give me your score. I love doing this to you just because.
Oh man, I hate giving a score.
No one ever gets close, but because we only keep track of the wins anyway.
Which we've been wrong a lot with this season.
Yes, exactly. So go ahead, give it to us.
Just because I feel like there's a lot of hype behind this, and it's in Death Valley, it's a new era. I do feel LSU's going to get the win. Score wise, I want to believe we can put up. I'm going to go and say 28 points. I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling like 20.
Lucky.
I'm feeling like 28-17, 28-13, because I feel like we're going to give up a lot of field goals. We tend to do that this season.
Yeah.
All right.
I think when they come out this time, they're going to be raw and they're going to be vicious. I think that they realize that if they want any kind of respect left in the SEC West, that they've got to get out there and do it. I think we're going to win probably around 42-14. I think there's going to be huge plays, big whipping. I've not been impressed with Missouri's defense. I think they're going to turn it loose, and I think it's time for them to start showing what they used to do. You used to average 40 points a game, and now you're barely averaging 14 a game.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get out there. They're going to turn it loose. They're going to start getting to the tight ends and the receivers, and that'll give Fournette and Geis more room to run. And then that
definitely
way,
open the field.
Yeah.
Up.
But I'm going to say 42-43-14.
All right. Well,
what about you?
let's see. I'm going to go ahead and say LSU 31, Missouri 20.
20?
I think, I think just because how well they throw the ball, is like just looking at the stats, I'm going to say that LSU's defense is going to play well. It's just, I don't know, looking at the stats and watching some of their game the other night on replay, they actually do look good throwing the football, and the receivers are really decent. So yeah, I'm going to say, I'm going to say 34-20 now. Yeah, I say it's a
two touchdown win.
yeah, whatever you said. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for joining us. Thank y'all, and look out for our next podcast coming up. And y'all have a blessed day.